Hello and welcome to our final Friday video for the semester. We have we've been through an interesting time, certainly unlike other normal academic times at a university, but it's been more predictable, more stable than some of our recent previous semesters, and so I'm grateful for that. I regret that I have not gotten to know you guys as well as I normally would. Um, you know, seeing faces in person without masks on is a lot easier for me to learn names and get to know people. Keeping distance, wearing masks, often having people join remotely makes it harder to do that, and that's something I regret, but I appreciate that I have gotten to know you at least some, and we've had this experience together. We've covered a lot of ground with some basic statistics ideas. Hopefully, have we've hopefully we've learned it in a way that feels useful. So we very purposefully spend some time in the computer lab using Excel, just getting comfortable using software, learning how to type formulas into a formula bar, and kind of create our own spreadsheet to do what we're looking for. And if you take a step back, some of you came into the semester already really comfortable with Excel. That's great. Some of you had barely used it, if at all. And so if we step back, I hope you appreciate that now at the end of the semester, you can use this ubiquitous software that can be really powerful and helpful. You can also do things like figure out what kind of discrete probability model to use, the binomial, the geometric, the Poisson. Those are things that if you show your parents these equations for these formulas, they'll be like, what in the world is that? What is that slanty looking letter thing? Lambda and the Poisson? Why is there an exclamation mark in a math equation? What's going on here? So that's really neat. I mean, that is, in some ways in an intro class, we skim the surface of some big stuff. But we've covered quite a bit of ground, and one of the reasons we do use some models like that is to show you that you can. We use Excel so that you know that you've got the basic comfort with it, and so learning to do specific applications in an internship and a job for a student organization, for a sports team, you can do that. And so if I can help with that in some way going forward, reach out to me. I've had some students do that. I had a student who started a painting business in the summers, and wanted to have spreadsheets to keep track of stuff and also to help figure out a pricing model. It's the sort of thing I'm happy to help. I love to see when the stuff that we've talked about in class is actually useful in your lives. And so whether that's writing you a letter of recommendation, it's always a nice angle when you're applying to academic programs, to jobs, to have the kind of stats angle on your side. It's one way that you can help set yourself apart from other candidates if you can come in and say, I'm comfortable working with numbers, working with spreadsheets, doing this sort of stuff. And so if I can help bolster your application in that way, let me know. So the other thing I want to send you guys off with, so some of you are about done with the semester. So we have an optional final in this class. And if your grade is a place that you're happy with it where it is, you're okay with it where it is, then you can be done. There's a Blackboard gradebook entry for approximate grades if not taking the final. So what that does is it weights your quizzes to include the points that would be coming from a final exam. So there's another entry for your approximate course grade going into the final. If you do take the final, the weights are just a little bit different, right? because those 20% of the course grade is going to come from your final grade. So that's your grade coming in. And so basically, you do better than that on the final, it'll be pulling your grade up. If you did worse than that on the final, it would pull your grade down from there. So there is an element of risk, right? We've talked about subjective probabilities and how people form their beliefs about what a probability is. So basically, you're forming a belief. How likely are you to do better than that going in? If your course grade going in is really low, then it makes it easier to say, I'm going to do better than that on the final, right? In other words, if you're looking to pull your grade up, the final is the way to do that. So the other thing to do, I mean, this is something that's within your control. It's not an exogenous probability of how well you'll do on the final. It's what we call endogenous. Your choices make a huge difference. And so preparing for the final is going to help a whole lot. So that's what I'll talk about in just a minute. Before I get there, I gave an extra credit opportunity in the announcements on Blackboard. For that, think about what we talked about this last week of class, including what we talked about a week ago, last Friday, normal distribution stuff. So think about a normal distribution, think about using z-scores, maybe using a z-score table, a standard normal table, to help figure out that. You could also think about the 68, 95, 99, 7 rule. So looking at the slides from Monday will be really helpful for answering that extra credit question, which you can do by emailing me. So you can do that whether you're taking the final or not. If you're close to where you would like to be, but you're not there, then I highly encourage you to do that extra credit. The other thing to do is to look back through the gradebook if you are missing assignments over the semester. So you can't get full credit for doing it late, but you can still get points. So not full points, but some is better than none. So if you're missing in-class assignments, if you're missing homework assignments, then complete those, send those to me, submit them on Blackboard, and we can get you at least some points. And so again, that might make it so that your course grade gets to a place that you're good without taking the final. And if not, then let's pivot toward getting ready for the final. So for those of you who are going to take the final, it's going to be cumulative, so it is going to cover stuff over the course of the semester. It would have to be, right? If we were trying to cover material that was only after our last assessment was 2 days ago, we are not really covering new content, so there wouldn't be, it's not clear what we would be testing if it were not cumulative. It is going to cover, and the questions are going to look a lot like questions that you've seen on the 5 quizzes we've had over the course of the semester. So that is the best way to study, is to go through those old quizzes and practice them. Answer those questions, change the numbers for some of them and see if you can still answer it. Because the questions aren't going to be identical, but they are going to look a lot like. So the sort of thing where I might change the numbers, I might flip it around. Maybe before I asked you to solve it in one direction, now I'll ask you to solve it in the other, meaning maybe before I would say how likely that someone wins a majority of their games, the question on the final might be how likely someone loses the majority of their games. Sort of changes like that, but the method to solving them is going to remain the same, testing those core principles, and so that's what will be on the final. I will be setting the previous quizzes so that you can go back and see what all of the answers are. I have to be a little bit careful about how I do that because I have a couple students who have been affected directly by having COVID, and they had good reasons not to be done at the time, and so I have a couple loose ends to tie up before I can switch those settings, but that'll be happening soon. So if you have questions about material, reach out to me, let me know, and I wish you all the very best. Thank you for sticking with me through the semester, and I'll see you around. Reach out. Let me know how you're using stats in your daily life, or just let me know how you're doing in general. Thanks, guys.